And let's go ahead and get going. I'm very, very happy to have all of you here today. We got to chat just a little bit at the beginning. I think we'll skip the go around the table and introduce ourselves today because we have a lot to cover, and a number of you have other commitments that you'll have to leave for and that kind of thing. So I want to make the most of your time. But I'm very happy to have all of you here. And this is in my opinion, this is our most important meeting of the year when we look at the past year and review it, and we look at the year to come and confirm or discuss our priorities and what they should be. So that's our goal today, is to do that. We have a couple of other minor items. Let's just share my screen here. Is anybody willing to use the link in the page here and do our take the minutes, take the notes? Anybody up for that? If not, I guess we will get by without it. The
No, Randy, if you enable the AI companion, it will email you a summary of the meeting afterwards. It's actually pretty good.
Okay, we'll do that then, and we'll use that.
I use that all the time. So
So
that might,
turn on all or start summary or
yeah, start summary. I normally just turn on all in this. I ask everyone in advance if they mind, but I
okay.
normally turn on all. Then you'll get an email a few minutes after you end the Zoom call with a meeting
Okay,
summary.
we will do
I
that.
think it's good.
Okay. That the folks that have usually done the summarizing are not here today. But and I know that some of you have to leave, and that would keep you from volunteering. So, all right. So I am going to share my screen, and let's take a look at our plan here. Okay, can you see my screen? Yeah. Okay, so uh, we've got our new technique, our AI summary, instead of a minutes taker. And the two things that we're going to look at for the review and the plans are both in the same blog. We'll open up those. I imagine that you have seen those already. Thank you. And let me just see if somebody's asking for help in Zoom here. No, I guess not. And I do have the finances in there, and then just a couple of minor things that we can talk about afterward as we have time and see your opinions about future meetings. So let's go ahead. I would appreciate um, your interrupting, discussing, conversing, any of those things as we go. And I will try to do an update to this blog with things that you think should be improved. So well, let's start. The original blog here was just about 2025, and then in preparation for this meeting, I added the 2024 review to it, as we have done in previous years. And so I don't think it'll take us too long to get through the 2024 review, but I am interested in your additional comments or anything else that should be going in there, and we can add that in there. I thought the 2025 part was forced by our preparation for the Google Summer of Code, which we didn't get, but it was a good thing to be forced. And I think that's the most interesting to the wider community. But if we don't take a look at our past, then we don't inform our future as well as we would like to. So um, there were many, many great things in 2024. Stas, as you know, has been a full maintainer for almost a year and a half now, and is just a massive, massive success. We couldn't hope for better, and um, that he's technically fluent. He's good at support. He is he's a good dude, and he knows all the things. It's just crazy wonderful. So that is a wonderful thing. On our finances, yes, we've had our challenges, and we talked about some challenges at the last meeting, but our finances are currently in balance. And if you're still here when we look at the finances, they are, so far this year, our expenses match our income. So that's good. And we have a strategy to keep that happening, which we'll also talk about. So that's also good. So we would like both maintainers to get a full salary, and we would like to take on additional maintainers in the future. But really, things are really quite they could be a lot worse. We're very thankful for where we're at, especially given the current market situation. We do have a number of other outstanding contributors who have gained capabilities and even privileges on the project. And, like Tyler 36 is always in there reviewing, and Guy Sartorelli and Hanoi and Bernardo and Ralph, and like 4 or 5 others that I should have listed. But very, very thankful for them, for all of you. I know that Andrew should have had a mention there. Andrew solved one of the weirdest, difficult problems that we've ever seen this year by going out and get bisecting it and figuring out how to solve that. So that is a lovely thing. Our support is still sustainable. We're still responding to people that need help, and in the vast majority of cases, we're able to solve their problems. Most of the people that actually show up for support have uh, either very strange things going on in a very strange configuration, or they're brand new to, Linux or Docker or software development or whatever, and they need a little help, and that's a great thing. But the most people must not need support because we have an awful lot of people out there using DDEV, and the number of often we only have 2 or 3 conversations a day offering support. So something good must be going on there. And we do really love to do that support, and it is sustainable at this point. Of course, all of us have worried about whether it's sustainable to do that level of support over the long term.
Randy,
Yes,
just a quick question. Um, do you have hard numbers on actual users and people using it on a daily basis?
yes, absolutely. In fact, I did a recent blog post on that. Let me give you that
Oh,
link.
okay. Yeah, I
Um,
can look for that. That's fine. Thank you.
uh, it, it, we would love to have more, um, more information on that and more study on it. I have not done enormous amounts of study on it, to be totally careful, but um, it's here. DDEV.com blog stats on DDEV usage November 2024. And that actually has live
Great.
links that you can click through to So let me put that
Cool.
in the chat. And if you have comments on how that can be improved, they are very, very welcome.
Cool. Thanks.
I see I'm missing the chat here, trying to get myself organized. Yeah, so according to that, we have like 15,000 weekly users. And Mike did some work on that and wasn't able to confirm exactly what that was looking like last summer. But I do believe it's representative, even if it's not perfect. I believe it's representative. We have Amplitude sending information when people do a DDEV start, and that's where that information comes from. It's super interesting, but it is a little mind-boggling to look at it and try to verify it and that sort of thing. Anyway, with 15,000 weekly users and 3 or 4 or maybe a few more support conversations a day, that's great. So something must be going well. And a lot of people do say that they don't have trouble with DDEV. They just use it and it works for their team. One thing I wanted to mention is we worked really hard last year at the contributor training, the live events that we were also recorded, and we got better at making a blog post go with them. And they were really, they generated a lot of good information, but the people that actually needed those live events didn't show up. I think some of them profited from those later. I think I've heard statements to that effect. But the people that were most likely to actually be doing contributions didn't actually show up at those. They're too busy doing other contributions, I would imagine. And so we haven't been doing those in the last few months. And I am interested in your reaction if you came to those or had benefit from those, or what you think the path should be with that kind of training in the future. What should we be able to do?
Just from my perspective, I did attend a number of those and I found them really interesting. I understand that it's probably a big drain on your time, Randy, to only do it for a couple people, even if there's a couple people maybe post recording, they go back and watch them. So I understand wanting to have more, I guess, reach, for lack of a better term, um, considering the amount of time that's spent for it. But I personally found it helpful in a lot of ways.
I'm totally willing to do them.
Hmm.
And I appreciated you coming to those. And if you do find a specific thing that you need, I'm very interested in that as well. If there are suggestions, I did post on social media asking if people had needs, wants, things they wanted to learn, things that hadn't been covered, and got crickets. So um, I did think it was a good initiative and it prompted some good follow-ups.
Hmm.
But I'm not sure it's hitting the sweet spot of what we want to do with bringing up contributors and bringing up sustainers, maintainers over the long term.
The other one thing that the feedback that I'd probably give about those sessions as they were last year or earlier was, a lot of my coworkers wanted to join, but they couldn't due to the times because it was so early for our time zone. So one thing could be, I know you did that to sort of like hedge the difference between like Europe, and I know it's a tricky thread to needle to thread. But if we could have more of a variety of times, I think maybe we'd get more people too. It's a possibility.
Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you. Um, can your folks do 8 your time or not?
Um, well, I mean, I can. I'm here at 7 usually every morning, so I'm an early riser. But I
Yeah.
think typically a lot of my coworkers start at 9 or 10 even. So like even an afternoon. Uh, I don't know how that works for everybody else and for you, Randy, but like that would be good for some people, I think. Just a thought to reach more people, maybe.
I do wish that both this meeting and those could be done somehow in a way that worked for uh,
Yeah.
more people. You know, if you think about the people in the Pacific or India, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
Um, anyway,
It's a
thank
good
you
problem.
for that
Yep.
feedback. Um, the next item here, and feel free to respond or speak up with your experiences as well. The Drop Times said, "Hey, can we promote DDEV sponsorship?" And so that got us to make a JSON feed that has live actual sponsorship information. And so we have a sponsorship data repo that is automatically updated now, which is pretty cool. And uh, the Drop Times, which is a Drupal thing, it's a Drupal newspaper blog thing, has a DDEV promotion fundraising thing on the top of their site, which is crazy wonderful. And somebody has just opened an issue this morning. Mark Conroy has opened an issue in the DDEV.com repo, and he has created a JavaScript widget so that we can put that on our own site. So that's a very cool thing. And if you haven't seen it, Stas's addons.ddev.com is live and working. It is so much easier than DDEV add-on list. You can search for database and it will bring up the database browsers. You can look for official or not official. It's super fast, super easy, and you can sort by stars. You can do all the things that you would hope to do. It's an amazing new addition to the DDEV world and a great way to explore these add-ons, the add-ons are a fundamental part of our world now. And so supporting them better is a great thing. On the less great things, marketing uh, was not great last year. The hosting companies and agencies that are using DDEV all the time were unresponsive, or they said they'd be responsive and then stopped responding to emails and that kind of thing. I think that nobody has discretionary funds and they consider DDEV discretionary, and that's just what the market is right now. Um, it's um, it's annoying. Well, like how do you say it? It's annoying. It's discouraging. It doesn't make you want to go there, but it is what it is. And yeah, I imagine there are people in this room right now who've been affected by this, and people who have lost their jobs, and that is a lot worse than our situation, which, as I said, is stable. So that's good. But since we put so much effort into marketing, it would be nice if we got easier responses. It's it's not a very easy thing, and of course, it's not my sweet spot in the first place. I don't particularly like asking for money, and certainly not asking for money the second and third time. Um, we did try to improve our overall market strategy and situation by engaging an organization that many of you know, Open Strategy Partners, that has worked widely with Drudway in the past and with Typo3, and that had potential, but the actual progress on it wasn't adequate, and our cash flow wasn't able to support it. So we did have to end that. Um, as I say, it isn't a great thing that I'm tired of doing the reaching out, and I don't know of a way to solve that. Like I say, I'm very happy that we're in balance at this time. You all know that platform.sh changed their funding, and they are still our most significant sponsor, but they did reduce it very significantly, and you all know about that from last time. And the last thing is really from a little over a year ago, is that our amazing contributor, Simon Gilly, who did so many things for this project, disappeared a little over a year ago, and nobody knows anything about what happened to him. He disappeared from the Typo 3 community as well. And I imagine that's really bad. And we're still mourning his loss, but it does remind us that we're all finite, and our contribution to this project is finite, and and that contributors and maintainers will come and go. So Mark asked if we know where Simon lived. He's in Switzerland. And I guess he died or some health thing or something. I don't think if he was just mad that he would have been completely gone from both Typo 3 and here or something like that. It's not, yeah. But it does remind us of our finiteness and the fact that needs to our community needs to be resilient and be developing new people and be making sure that those people have the capabilities to do what they need to do as things go on, so that the organization and the project is bigger than one or two people. The as I say, the financial status, we'll talk about that later, so we don't really have to talk about it right now. We are basically even for the year on income and expenses, and we have about $8,500 in the bank, which is fine. Any comments about any additional comments, things that you would add in review about 2024 or reactions to any of those things that we listed there? Just taking a look, see if I missed anything that anybody posted in the chat here. Feel free to pop up in the chat as well. So, okay, well,
Hey, Randy.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll just say, I mean, I think, you know, from a technical and support perspective, we're in really great shape, right? I think you and Stas and the other contributors are just like killing it. So that's great. I definitely have some ideas about sponsorships, increasing sponsorships and stuff like that. I just need to find some bandwidth to write some stuff down and share it with you and or you know the other appropriate people. But I think there's a lot, you know, even with the current industry climate, I think we're still leaving some sponsorships on the table that with not a huge amount of work, but just by asking in the right way, to kind of bridge that gap, from where we are now to what our goal like of monthly support is. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the goal was it 15 grand a month we were hoping to raise?
we've got 12 as our official goal right now. Yeah.
Okay, and then where are we at right now? Like, what's the gap right now? Where are we at?
Yeah, actually, you can look at the
Yeah, I'm too lazy.
drop times
I know.
to see exactly what it is. So there it is. It's
we have about 4 grand. So, but we're about 8 grand short per month, right?
Actually, their thing isn't right.
Okay.
No, that's interesting. Their thing isn't right because we've got. So I wonder if their thing. Anyway, if you look at somebody just made us one today, which I think is giving the accurate, is giving a more accurate view. This is great from Mark Conroy. So I think this is more correct. I haven't checked it, so a little
Oh,
over
wow.
halfway. Um,
Oh,
so
so $5,000 short. Okay.
yeah, I think, but I don't. I guess I'll have to talk to the drop times and see if something went wrong. I think maybe they're reading the wrong thing or something.
Well, I'll make it a priority, if not by the end of the week, definitely this weekend to kind of do a brain dump and email you and then, just tell me who else we need to pull into the conversation or where I should post stuff like this. And because I'm willing to help on that front, because that seems like where we can really do some good.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments about 2024 or that issues that we hit on? Well, let's take a look at our proposals and goals for 2025, which are at the top of this same blog post. Um, I'm I'm pretty happy that we're actually doing this in March. I think I'll plan to do that next year. We in previous years we tried to do it in January. Last year I wasn't here in January, so we didn't do it. Um, and in January nobody's ready to think about these things, and we're not ready to think about them. Everybody comes back from holidays and they're just not ready for a big meeting to think clearly about plans. So I'm pretty happy that we're doing that here and that we're working through this. So I think we'll probably plan to do the this review next year in March as well at our March meeting. This meeting is every 2 months, and everybody in the entire community is welcome, and we're glad to have you. But normally we don't take as ambitious a topic as reviewing the previous year and going on to the next year. So as far as community, our initial goals, we really want to continue this outstanding user support. And of course, in my opinion, this is support that the entire community can do. Stas and I are usually paying complete attention and usually jump right in there. And I know that that actually might prevent other people from stepping in, but for this community, the biggest idea is that the entire community can offer support in Discord, in the Drupal Slack, in all the places. And so even though Stas and I are so devoted to it, for the future of the community, it needs to be the whole community offering support. The second thing here is formal governance. Um, this is we can talk about this a little bit, but I essentially think that unless I push this forward and just say what I think should happen, I don't think anything will ever happen. It just seems like we chatter and chitter and chatter, and we don't get anywhere. And some of the things that we've chittered and chattered about seem way outside our range, like um, you know, having a separate executive director, things like that that we're not prepared for. But I do think that we can get farther forward to where we do actually have a board that is not me, um, of 3 people maybe, and if at least somebody on that board has financial controls besides me and can do what needs to be done, then we have a step forward. So if somebody else perhaps is taking care of the finances and um, perhaps is able to make payments. Right now, we have a situation where Mike Anello is actually on the bank account, which is great, and that's kind of an emergency preparation thing as opposed to an organizational strategy. But it is a way, it is a thing, right? I mean, we have two people on the bank account, so that's good, but that's not governance. And so having governance with at least financial controls, which more than one person is involved in, is a goal. And I think we can figure out a way to do that this year. And I'm going to talk to the Backdrop organization because Backdrop has gone, they're a smaller community, not as small as us, but they're small and they have come up with a governance strategy that is not just the founder. And I'm going to talk to them and talk to Nate and see how that's worked out and what their thoughts are. Any comments about governance this year? I don't want to go there right now because we don't, I mean, it's a topic you can spend forever talking about and perhaps never do anything about. And we want to do something about it this year. But I'm still interested in your reaction and thoughts about this goal for this year. At any time, of course. And yeah, Andrew, I know that so Andrew posted in chat that the Backdrop folks have an Apache model, which is not just a regular old benevolent dictatorship model like we've seen so many places, and like what we currently have in DDEV informally. And I believe that they believe that they are not susceptible to the disadvantages of the benevolent dictatorship technique. And so I do want to talk to Nate about that. And I want to talk to him about the practicalities of whether he actually still has the real power, So there's the model, and then of course there is the reality. And if you have a reality that the informal power is vested in one person, then you haven't totally solved this class of problem. Anyway, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, I was talking to them at Florida DrupalCon, talking to some of the Backdrop members about that, which is what brought it up. Drupal Camp, Florida Drupal Camp, something like that, Mike.
We put the Florida before the Drupal camp. So.
I know that you do it different from everybody. Yeah,
Do we? You think? All right.
yeah. It was fun. It was fun. It was great to see you there. On sustainability and finance, we always know that we have much to do, but our marketing call to action is pretty weak. And so I've listed a few things here that need to be done, but one of the simplest is that our support DDEV page needs to focus in on one thing instead of 53 different things. And it needs to explain to people what they can actually do with supporting DDEV financially, and the ways that they can do it. And we need to communicate our current situation, which we're already making progress on. We've got that new widget that we can add. I think also that in the monthly newsletter, even though now we do give updates about what our situation is, I don't think that it's calibrated to our actual goal. So I think that's just a rework of that page to simplify it dramatically and focus it on financial support. So that is that's a chore. And if any of you are interested in taking that on, we'll be happy to give you some leadership and guidance on that. As we just talked about the contributor training, I really do think it's absolutely critical that we continue to build the capabilities of our contributors and ambitious ones get if they need privileges, um, get them those privileges, build our overall capabilities. And so I I suspect that I suspect that we have reached out adequately to capable contributors over time, asking them if they wanted to move up. And I think that the key ones that we've talked to just don't have any bandwidth, even though they continue to contribute when they see the way. But um, I think that whole strategy is fundamental. So, any comments about the um, community issues here, the marketing CTA and developing contributors and maintainers? Feel free to pipe up uh, when you do, that's fine. So we have for features, these things now are more about technical features, and I'm always really interested in in your feedback about what's important to you and your team on these things. Um, so things that are essentially done, these first three things have gotten done since I initially drafted this page. But well, not done. The XH GUI isn't done, but we're making good progress on it, and we made good progress on it today. The Typo 3 Association is funding integration of XH GUI into DDEV in their community ideas, community budget ideas funding. And so that matured due to work by Tyler 36, which is fantastic. And now we're going to integrate it as a performance tool into DDEV that does not it does not run unless you're using it. So that's something that we've actually succeeded in doing that we didn't anticipate, is that we're now going to have a way to have extra containers that aren't necessarily running for users. And so this is it's a technical improvement in DDEV itself, which actually would let us put phpMyAdmin back into core, if any of you are phpMyAdmin fans. The second one, top-level Node.js support, went into our recent release, and it has a number of capabilities. We call it top-level Node.js support, but it really is you can run any kind of a web server you want in DDEV and have it exposed as your primary web server. And so that means that we can actually we can tell people again how to do Python and Django support, for example. And it turned out that there was somebody in the world using Python support. We had that for a year or two, and we took that out. I think in this major release 1.24.0, I think we took it out because we couldn't support it and it didn't seem like anybody was using it. But now with generic web server, we have the capability to solve problems like that without DDEV writing a bunch of code and maintaining code that nobody can understand or fix. Now it can be done at a project level basis, and that's a fun thing. That the Node.js examples and a Franken PHP example, which is a very parallel thing to GUnicorn or Python, those are in the docs now in the quick starts. And as we just saw, the web-based add-on registry is live. Thank you, Stas. So that's a great thing. Now, other proposed features and initiatives. Any comments about anything we talked about so far about the current work in progress or funded initiatives that we have started on? Feel free to pipe up anytime. So proposed features, the MDNS is an alternate name resolution technique, which is supported in Mac and Windows, and it is an easy thing on Linux. And our thoughts are to use that as an additional name resolution technique. As you know, we've used star.ddev.site for years and years, and that allows us to not edit anybody's host file or require them to make changes to their machine to use it. But there are a number of places where that doesn't actually work, especially when they don't use ddev.site or when they have particular kinds of DNS resolution problems. And the MDNS approach has potential. And so we pitched that to the Typo 3 community for their Q2 community budget ideas. And if you're in the Typo 3 community, I hope you got the email, and I hope you voted for that DDEV project. So we asked them for 10,000 euros to do that, and hope that that gets funded. A second one is allowing add-ons to include other add-ons. This one shouldn't be very hard, but it's something that people have been asking for. Currently, you can require the other add-on, but it has to be added manually. Now, then the next two, number 3 and 4, are aimed at improving our support of our largest sponsor platform and Upsun. And both of those add-ons, the DDEV Platform SH or a potential Upsun add-on, are they're way too complex to implement well in our current strategy, which is YAML embedding Bash, basically. And so what we'd like to do is to take those and figure out an alternate way to process the configuration that platform has, probably using Go to do it. And we think that that has potential to do that. And of course, when somebody's as generous as platform is, we want to make sure that their integrations are well maintained. And we've been kind of stuck on that with maybe some of you have done add-ons. Add-ons are so simple if they're simple. And then if you try to do really exotic things like the platform add-on does, they are just out of control because they're using so many different techniques instead of just one language to do it. It's very difficult. If any of you are familiar with Gitpod and DrupalPod, Gitpod Classic, which we have promoted and liked and had direct DDEV support for years, is shutting down in April. And we would like to have a replacement for that. That may mean improved GitHub Codespaces support. We've supported Codespaces for some time, but not with the energy that we have Gitpod. And so maybe we can just improve our energy on Codespaces and we'll be okay on that. Not sure, but that's we definitely want people to be able to take a look at DDEV PRs that way, and of course, if the DrupalPod capability is important. Are any of you going to Drupal Camp Atlanta? If you go
You mean
ahead
DrupalCon Atlanta?
through that one.
Yeah, I'll be there.
We're gonna have a BOF on replacing Gitpod for DrupalPod, and would love to have you there if you can make it. And I look forward to seeing you there. Thanks to various community things, surprisingly, I'm going to be able to go to that one. I didn't plan to go, but uh, Bernardo Martinez came up with a shared room and even a ticket for me. And then Platform said, well, we'll give you the air ticket then. So that was great. The next item is self-diagnose capability. We have a thing that we use very well, DDEV debug test, which gives us information that people need in support, but only we can read it. It doesn't tell you what's wrong. It just tells you an enormous amount of information. And Stas and I can read it, and maybe one or two of you can read it, but it's not very easy. So we would like to have a little bit more self-diagnosis, and maybe that can be incorporated into DDEV debug test. But there are a number of things that can be immediately detected that people might have done wrong, and we can sort that out. Number 7, we've already talked about the message of the day, and DDEV.com should show current funding status. DDEV.com is going to have that very soon because we have that excellent contribution. And then our WSL2 packaging and Windows packaging just needs some work and simplification. And we don't need a number of the things that are in that anymore. Do any of you use Windows WSL2? Yeah.
I do.
Oh, Mark, you do.
Yep.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
not exclusively, but I do use it occasionally.
Uh-huh. Yeah. We're always interested in your feedback about that. I think we can improve it quite a bit. Right now, it's kind of a hodgepodge of the original Windows packaging, and we can improve that quite a bit. And it would be lovely if we can figure out how to, when we need to escalate for the Windows side host file, if we can do that without using the ddev.exe on the Windows side. If you're ever interested in that, Mark, and if you use Windows enough to look at it, it's an interesting project and probably not that difficult. Um,
Okay.
it's just one
Yeah,
of
I don't have much PowerShell experience. And I think maybe there's a way to make it a little bit more simplified in that we could just install, like, I guess you have the problem with the hosts file, but I was thinking if you install Docker in Linux without PowerShell, and then I don't know the problem space, so I need to look at it. But yeah, there may
so
be room to simplify.
we would be losing PowerShell, getting rid of it, gone. That would be one of the fundamental things to do. We don't
Yeah.
really need it. If we get rid of using Chocolati, then we don't really need the PowerShell side at all. And then if we
Mhm.
figure out how to escalate from within WSL2 using Go code, that would be crazy. So
Mm.
anyway, if
Okay.
you get interested, it's a good project, and especially if it touches you, it's a
Mhm.
good project. Um,
Cool.
Number 9 is DDEV Share, using more options than just ngrok. DDEV Share, people bring this up regularly, and it's a people love DDEV Share, but they always want something else, or ngrok isn't good enough, or whatever. And there's no reason that we can't provide a more configurable, a clearer sharing set of options to people. Um, the there's It's such a fun space. And so if we can get people to have Cloudflare and all these other things, that's good. Number 10 is perhaps a stretch, but our configuration system could really use, instead of just using directly the YAML library, it could use Viper, which is a well-established configuration system. That is, not something that's on anybody's need to have list, but it would allow environment variable overrides for configuration. It would allow JSON overrides instead of just YAML. There's just a number of things that it would give for free. But there's nothing, since everything, a lot of the problem with these DDEV features is since everything works for people, there's no, motivation to go into these territory. And this is a classic example of something that we really ought to do, but nothing will ever force us to do that. Hopefully somebody will get interested in that this year. So I said earlier that we did apply to the Google Summer of Code, and we did not get accepted. That was the reason that this list had to be created early. And so that they did us a favor with that. We will try in future years. So those are the 10 items of features and initiatives that that I had put down, and I'm interested in anything that you think is missing or misprioritized or anything else there. Are you good with the prioritization of what we have there?
Seems pretty good to me.
Are there things that annoy you in daily use of DDEV that should be on here? So Andrew says he wonders if number 7 should go higher. I think number 7 has to go higher, and since we already have progress for DDEV.com, I think it'll happen very soon. I think we'll have that on DDEV.com in the next few days, I'll bet. We'll still have to figure out how to do it on the message of the day, but I don't see how that's hard. But I do think that requires Go code. I haven't thought about how the message of the day will do that. I think it does require Go code to consume that JSON. So I definitely agree that that should be moved up. Thank you, Andrew.
Randy, there's one little thing that I ran into, but I haven't gone back and looked at it. This is Selwyn, by the way. It was just often I have multiple copies of the same site locally. So if I have a site called, ABC, and I have an ABC1, ABC2, ABC3, and of course I'm checking in the config YAML, so I don't want to change the real one, so I make a .local one. But then, like, I think the DDEV config commands get confused at that point, and they can't tell that I'm referring to the local one. But
So we have conversations about that
okay.
every single day. And
Okay.
the answer that we give is remove the name field from your config.yaml, and you won't have that problem anymore, but it'll take the name of the directory. That's a great strategy, but
Okay.
I think that since we have conversations about that every single day, I think Stas answered a question about that today in Discord.
Okay.
So since we do that every single day, that probably means that we have a feature request that is not being properly requested. So,
Okay.
so would you open that as an issue, as a
Sure.
feature request? Because like I say, Stas and I and other people know that you can just leave out the name and you're fine. But
Yeah.
apparently not enough people know that, and we don't have that we need to think about how to do that better. So thank you for raising that.
And that's not ideal, because then the other developer, when they download, they can't just DDEV start. They have
They
to make
can't.
a YAML. Oh,
Right.
they can't
No,
start,
no, you check in the YAML without the name. Without the
and
name.
it
check
uses
it
the
in.
directory, and it just
Yeah.
uses the directory name.
Yeah.
And
One strategy here is just that we should never put the name in the YAML file. That's a very simple strategy. So I think we
like
need to
it,
think
yeah.
about that.
I like it. But yeah, I mean, it seems like it wouldn't be crazy to to use the overridden one, and then that would solve it. Okay, I'll make an issue. I have to dash. I've got a meeting right now, but
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
I
thank
want to
you for
drop in
doing
and say
that.
hi and
Thank you for
send
doing that. Thank you for being here, and
send
thank you
love.
for opening
Nah.
that. I do think that since we answer that 2 or 3 times a week, maybe we ought to do something about it. So, all righty. Any other comments about the 10 proposed items that we have? Uh, I added some additional notes after this was originally posted that we need to talk about. And so we'll just take a look at these. I think you probably know all about these, but one of them is risks. And we're talking about that as contributors and everybody else. So that's good. Um, we are very small, and we just talked about having lost Simon. Um, we also lost Matt Stein in the last year, but we know where he is. And I chat with him from time to time. But Matt swooped in and did enormous things for our documentation and our website over a year or a year and a half period. I don't remember how long, but he made enormous contributions. But then he moved on, and that is a standard thing. So we want to develop our maintainers, and we want to respect them, but we want to remember that we need to be aware of risk. So Stas is in Ukraine, not that far from the front line. Nobody knows the future. He has risks that I have never encountered, and appreciate him being here every single day. Um, I'm not young. I am finite, and so we don't know about the future for me. I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. I think I mentioned here that I did mention that below. I do expect to work a little less this year, but have not succeeded at that so far. As you know, our outlook for discretionary funding from agencies and hosting companies, and maybe even individuals, is pretty terrible right now. And I think probably all of you are experiencing that in a variety of ways. So now Stas and I do talk about burnout and overwork, and we try to be very, very careful not to work too hard. Stas is pretty religious about not working on the weekend, which I respect very much, and like that. I am pretty religious about doing things other than work, although when I'm not doing something other than work, I'm usually working. So, but burnout and overwork are very serious problems, and we recognize those as risks. Um, some other minor things, I think that we have some blogs and screen shares that are out of date and need to be refreshed or redone. And so I mentioned some specific ones. And Stas and I also have talked about some of the key features of DDEV that haven't really been updated in our overall communication. So, um, on DDEV.com, if you look at the Get Started, there's no mention of add-ons. Um, and in the docs, the add-ons are covered, but what if people started out with DDEV and didn't know about add-ons? How long would it take them to find out about it? Might take them a long time. So, and I think that screen share blogs are very welcome to a number of users, even for ordinary things like starting a DDEV project or installing DDEV. I think we need those things. So, any comments or thoughts about those minor notes? Well, let's take a look at the very few small things that we have in our agenda after those. Finances, I think we've probably covered pretty well. The full reports are there in the advisory group meeting page, which I don't know whether I posted it before or not. I think probably all of you know about it because you're here. But we have been doing what we talked about in the January meeting to try to make sure that our cash flow and our expenses are in balance. And our strategy that we raised at the January meeting was that both Stas and I bill at a $50 an hour rate. Stas had a cap of 4,000, and we have raised that to 5,000 for now. And my cap is 4,000, but not if it would bring the bank account below 6,000, so that we always have that buffer. And we have the financial statements there that nobody is probably that interested in looking at. Are there any questions or comments about the finances or the financial statement? Way too quiet, but we need that cat. Where's my cat? I love it when cats come into the meeting. I think that's the greatest thing. My cat does that exact same thing, comes up on my lap, covers up the face so you can't see him. Big tail. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
it's good as long as he's not coding.
Okay, so some minor notes after the finances, and your comments about finances are welcome anytime. Some minor notes are we had a little concern. Our Docker-sponsored open source sponsorship was just canceled out of the blue. It says, "Sorry to see you go," and we were like, "Oh dear." We were wondering, they got a new Docker Inc. got a new CEO, boom, bang, no announcement, boom, out of the blue about a week or two ago. And we were wondering if they were changing the program. But after not getting a reply to them, we just reapplied anyway. And then they did renew it. And they have confirmed that the most important feature of that will continue. The most important feature for our users is that there's no download limit, no pull limit for sponsored projects. If there were, it would cause difficulty for many DDEV users who are behind firewalls, and it would cause difficulty for our automated tests and a number of things like that. I don't know whether any of you have signed up on the Meetup page. That was an experiment from a year ago to try to make this easier. But I think we're going to stop. We're just going to stop using the Meetup and let it go. We got it free for a year, but it hasn't worked out. What I was going to do is move all of you to a calendar entry on our DDEV.com account, on my DDEV.com account, and invite you there. But do any of you know a way to let people sign up for a calendar event without, like just requesting it by email or whatever, like however you got on there? Do you know of a service or anything that makes that work? Because if people could just sign up for this as they wanted to, that would be great. And I think we'd get more people that would sign up. And that's what the meetup was supposed to be, but it hasn't been successful. Does anybody know of anything like that where we could have a meeting like this with a calendar event that went with it that anybody could just sign up for, and we could just put it, like when we post it on social, people could just sign up for it? Nope. If you find one, please let me know. It seems like these things like you know, cal.com and Calendly and Google should all have something like that that you could do. It seems like a missing feature, but I'm not familiar with it. Also, I was our Zoom subscription expires in a couple of months, and it costs I don't know, $160 a year or something. I was thinking we could move to Google Meet. Does anybody have any objection to that? It's it'll work for everybody. The only thing is, hey, Stas, when we meet next week, let's see if the recording is workable. I know that we couldn't do this in the past before we had a Google Workspace fully funded account. We couldn't do recordings. So we'll have to make sure that we can do recordings. We can just experiment with that at our meeting.
Okay.
So, um, so that is the sum of what I had on the agenda for this meeting. I'm very interested in anything that you have to share, any friction that you have, any thoughts that you have about DDEV. And I very much appreciate you coming today.
Well, thank you so much for keeping us all so well alive. For me, there were really no frictions last year. DDEV was just wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
really.
Thanks to you solving amazing networking problems over the years.
Oh, a long time ago, Randy. I'm really uh, behind in my contributions. So I wish I would do more for DDEV. Yeah.
We
And
always welcome them. Milan, if that's the right way to say it, says, can a change in PHP version or allowed PHP memory be done without restart? So mostly the memory limit is generally unlimited. And the answer is yes, you can change you can use multiple PHP versions, but you have to use a different path. I think probably this is something to take up in an issue. If you can say what you're in an issue, if you can or in Discord, we can talk about it. We can tell you how to use more than one PHP version in a running container because all of the currently supported versions are actually in there. But that is not the same as using FPM. And the memory limit issues would have been when using, anyway, we would be happy to talk about that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, usually memory limit issues on command line things, or they really require a different approach because if you increase the memory, it won't work in production anyway. And anyway, we have lots of experience in the memory limit world and the migration problem. Usually things have to be redone to use multiple a queuing approach or something like that. But happy to take that up with you,
Okay,
Discord or in an issue or whatever. So,
okay, thanks a lot.
anybody else, anything on your mind? Anything about DDEV or anything else that we've talked about today?
I would like to point to the thing that we all really know, and it is about a decoupled world, which is usually driven by having Drupal as one thing and some front end, whatever it is, as a different thing. And for that, we actually need both PHP and something else, some node server or something running in the background. And there were previously some recipes how it could be done with PM2 or something. But I think that I have had a problem previously trying to make it the front end part to be on the primary domain. So, for instance, you have something like project DDEV site, and I would like to have that to be addressed to the node thing, and for instance, API or backend dot project dot DDEV dot site to be the backend for the front end framework.
That feature went into the latest release, and it is in the quick starts. So if you look at the quick starts and you look at the two Node.js quick starts, that's exactly what that is, and it's in the current release.
Okay, I was just I didn't have the time to check it out, but I think that is really important as few different solutions are currently working, and I'm trying to make it work with DDEV between the chapter 3 next Drupal project and the DDEV, and it was postponed until this release.
One of the things that you raised, though, and this is another thing that gets asked regularly asked regularly in Discord, is how should one do that where you're essentially running two different applications that need to talk to each other? And my answer is usually that I prefer two projects running, talking to each other, but it's also very, very easy to do within a single project using the techniques that we have, and especially with the new technique that we have to run a generic web server of whatever type you want, which is the new Node.js feature. You can run multiple applications in the same container and have them talk to each other. Like I say, I prefer to do it as two separate ones because it's just more clear to me who's doing what job. But I think the fact that you raise that issue says that we probably need more training and exposure of that so that people can have ideas to bounce off of. And we would love to have, when you take this on, we'd love to have a guest blog post on ddev.com about how you did it.
Yeah, okay. Because when I was previously reading about the documentation and issues about that, there was raised a problem that PHP is needed for the health of the project or containers, and then that's why it had to be like primary. So I'm not sure if that's right, but that's what previously were
Right, and that's what's changed in the current release. So there's a way to do that now, and you can take a look at that in the quick starts. So
okay, thank you very much.
you bet. Look forward to talking to you more about that. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Anything you want to chat about? I'm happy to hang around if you want to chat about anything, but I do very much appreciate you being here and your contribution and your activism in the DDEV world and your encouragement as we go along.
I need to run. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it very much.
Bye.
And look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks so much. And feel free to hang around if you have something you want to talk about. Thanks so much.
While everybody else is dropping off, I'll just tell you that I'm not going to be at DrupalCon.
Oh, I was hoping you were. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm actually going to be in Colorado.
And you're going to be in Colorado, where you're supposed to be mountain biking with me.
I know. We're going to Salida Monarch.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, we're going to spend a little over a week out there. We taking the kids out snowboarding.
Oh, okay. So you're going to go to, yeah, I was saying, well, the snow has been so light this year that you could you can mountain bike much around Salida right now, but you
Yeah,
can't do, you can't do Monarch Crest or anything at this point.
no, but yeah, we might. I don't know. I think we're gonna do 4 days of boarding. So we might go rent some bikes or something since Salida's got so many places there.
Yeah, yeah, and there is the lower stuff is wide open, and at that time will really be wide open later this month. Um, unless we get, a lot of times we do get in March and April our big snows, and so that could change. But you
Oh.
probably want the big snows because you're going to Monarch. So
So yeah, it's just kind of ironic that you're going from Colorado to DrupalCon and then I'm going the other way back out to Colorado.
I'm sure looking forward to you getting out here and mountain biking. So
Yes, I'm gonna try. I
yeah,
don't know
try to
when.
do it in the spring or the fall. We could just have a blast.
Okay, I'll see if I can get something together.
Or this year, all winter, we could have gone to almost all winter. We could have done Moab and everything here with no trouble.
Great. Oh yeah. So anyway, but yeah, so I won't be seeing you. Sorry.
All right. Well, thanks a bunch.
All
And
right, talk to you later.
great to see everybody. Thanks so much.